And welcome to Indie Social. This is the podcast where I, Dylan Yeager,
and Michael Huntington
interview independent filmmakers. Our guests come to the show to share with you, the audience, how they started in their filmmaking career. And maybe, just maybe, we get to, learn a little bit more about them on a deeper and more personal level. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Indie Social.
Welcome to the show, Indie Social. I know you'll love our guest today, 'cause what we've got for sure will amaze. So take this time and put your stress aside and come with us. Don't be shy, just take a seat and enjoy the ride. Oh, we are Indie Social, yeah.
Our guest today is a videographer, entrepreneur, writer, and editor. He also works in the sound department and is also a production assistant. When he's not working on films, he's a photographer and rap artist. The two films in post-production he's worked on are the Superman fan film and East of Middle West. The one, the only, Marques Brooks.
How you doing, man?
I'm all right. Hey, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for stopping by.
Pleasure.
Yeah, man. The moment I met you, I knew I was kind of excited to get you on here, dude. I know you got a cool story, and I want to learn more about you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When we talk, we're normally working, so
of
but
course.
this is a cool environment to get it started, man. So let's just start off with what do you classify yourself as?
First, I'm classified as an MC. I've been rhyming for about 20 years now. I go by the name Mark Divine. I'm originally from Rock Island, Illinois, and then I came to Iowa City, Iowa, and that's where I represent. So through those years, I've just been working my way up as far as my lyrics and music and projects. And
so how'd you come up with the name Mark Divine?
Funny, I actually started as Cell Block. A lot of people, or the people that I had listening to me, know me as that in the area locally. And then I say 10 years ago, I knew that name was going to run into a wall, more or less marketability, marketing, things of that nature, excuse me. And then I came up with that name just randomly, and then I kept it kind of in my pocket, like I'm going to figure out when to use it. Naturally, some things happen as far as life goes, and then it was more like I converted to that. And it was funny when I did that, the audience accepted it. I thought it was going to be more like hard for me to get people to understand I'm the same person that Cell Block was,
Right.
you know what I mean? Then I put Mark Divine out there, everybody transitioned.
So how long were
smoothly.
you Cell Block until you transferred to?
I probably was Cell Block for about, I'd say 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, so early 2000s up to like 2007, something like that. And then that was more or less when I felt that halt, and then I transformed into the Divine.
So during that journey of being a musical artist, did you also have your love for filmmaking while doing that as well?
Yes, sir. I've always been a film buff guy. Growing up, in the projects and ghettos and things like that, you kind of look at movies and stuff as, the outlet and kind of how you see yourself relate to those moments that happen. So I've always been into that. Like Spike Lee's, the Michael Henry Brown's, things of that nature. So I grew up off of that. And then I visioned myself doing those types of things and being a part of film production and stuff. So, music naturally moved me into film production. Yeah.
So while you were doing music, were you also doing film in the early stages?
Yeah, because I didn't have, a team. That's more or less the hardest thing to develop as doing anything, more or less. And when that took place, I was like, okay, I need to learn how to do these things because I don't have anybody doing them. And I knew that it was critical for me to do it because as time goes on, if you don't keep making music and putting projects out, you kind of, simmer down. So, you go from the phones to the basic editing programs on your phones, ABC type steps. And then as time goes on, you get better, you evolve, you learn, and there you go.
Yeah, man.
So did you choose music as your primary route because it just was more of like an easier option for you, since film, like you said, needed like a big team? So you're like, well, this might not happen in my life, so let's go with music because it's more accessible.
Actually, it was more like music I knew was a passion. I've been, making music since I was like 13 years old. And I've always been involved in music. My mom and uncles were DJs and things of that. So I've had, it's in me. And then as I was a teenager, I developed that. I was very passionate at making music. Me and my cousin used to, make our music on cassette tapes, front and back. And from there, we were just like, yeah, we're going to be the biggest rappers in the world, that story. So
My father is a pretty well-known musician. He's a guitar player in Burlington, Iowa.
Okay.
And I really thought my path was going to go in a musical direction. Because watching my dad play live my whole entire life. But I'm not sure, and I really still to this very day want to get into music. I think I'll eventually maybe become like a solo artist.
Sure.
But for me, like filmmaking and acting in general, I started off in theater. It was more of like it was more accessible to me.
Okay.
But man, maybe we can collaborate.
Definitely, man. I would agree with you as well. Being accessible, we could say that music was accessible, at the time, and then, we got really, really good at it, and the confidence built, and we stayed with it. Actually diving into film as a whole didn't come till later in my life as I got older, but it's always been an influence.
So you weren't born in Iowa, right?
No, sir.
No. So when did you move to Iowa?
I came up here in 4th grade for the first time. I was here for like a year, and then I went back to Illinois for a few more years, and then came back. I was around like 6th grade, 6th or 7th grade, and then I was at Southeast Junior High in Iowa City, and
you've just kind of been here ever since.
Yes,
was
sir.
that transition hard, kind of coming from there to Iowa?
Honestly, I looked at Iowa City as an scapegoat. Being young, my mind was kind of advanced to that, going through the stuff I went through, growing up. I looked at that as an outlet.
Right.
Unfortunately, some things happened where we were forced to move out of the area, family passing away.
Sure.
But when I got here, I looked at it as a different light, something different. Maybe things will get better, and then,
You just kind of stayed here. You ended up loving it a little bit, loving Iowa.
For sure.
So how did you make your first break into the film industry? Did you know a friend who was curious of doing short films, or did you just have a script you wanted to produce? Or
Yes. What happened was a couple of years ago, I was working at the VA hospital. I ran into Michael Henry Brown, which is a screenwriter for Dead Presidents. I actually met him on accident. He was there as a patient. We got real close. He gave me, a little bit of knowledge. I showed him some of my work because I was already working my way up. Divine Visual Productions is my company, my self-company. So that's what I started with. Everybody that I was working with knew that I was doing that. I was doing a lot of music videos. He seen that, liked it. That gave me confidence. I kept doing that. Then East and Middle West came a few years later, 2019. Makatsi Rakondo is a friend of mine. He went to West High with me, my high school. He went out to L.A., went to school there, came back, and that was the thing this year that he was coming back to shoot this movie. And then he gave me a call and asked me to be a part of it. So I joined on to that.
So being in the film type of world is kind of new to you still in a way, would you say?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Especially working on bigger projects and everything.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I got into I think I got a good first run, with that movie. It was a feature film, so I learned a lot, learned about how things work, how smoothly things work, things like that. So I learned a lot for sure.
So how'd you get attached to the Superman fan film?
I met a lady on the East and Middle West set that just came temporarily. Her name is B. Nugera. And
I just worked with her.
Yeah,
Very nice lady.
Good lady. Yeah, shout out to B. And she asked me to be a part, so I went to Des Moines the next weekend or in between the time I was shooting and linked up with her, and then I ended up meeting you, Mike, and then we got connected. She liked the way I work, and then we continued it there.
So was that also your first day working on Superman film was when I met you as well?
That is correct. Yes,
oh,
sir.
okay, sweet. Yeah, so that was my only day working on that. So I
Wow.
wasn't sure if you also have been working on it for a long time.
Yeah, no, it was more like both
Just
of our
kinda
first
see-
days. Yeah,
Oh,
one time
okay.
run. Yes, sir.
So you being a writer, I listened to some of your music on YouTube.
Thank
Very deep, personal stuff.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if this is going to come across wrong, but
No, be yourself.
no,
man.
you're I know rap music in general is very in your face, intimidating.
Oh.
And I've never sat in the same room with somebody who was a rap artist.
Okay.
And you're the nicest dude I ever met. Listening to your music and then meeting you in person.
Yeah.
So that just strikes my question here is you write about some really deep personal stuff
Yes, sir.
about your life, like most writers do, but I could share a little bit about that with because I'm sure have you written any screenplays for films yet?
Yeah, actually I did. So it was like a little mini screenplay. I got a video that I'm working on with Mike called Take Flight, and that was my very first script that I actually brought to life. that took a couple of weeks for me to write. I went over it a few times. I had a couple characters involved in it, and then that was my test. So when the music video came, I implemented my script into that as like a mini movie to start and blend in with the video. So that was my first little run with that. That was exciting. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, is writing like very therapeutic for you?
Yeah, actually it is. You know, you got your ups and downs and times where it's a little harder than other times, but overall, yeah, it's very therapeutic for me. Yes, sir. As an artist, you know, I use the pen as to paint my pictures and to tell my stories, and then, like I said, as time went on, I converted into putting it on the big screen. So that's the fun part.
So how'd you get into? Because you also shoot music videos yourself.
Yes.
So how'd you get into doing that? Was that also sort of a passion as well to do music videos?
Actually, no, it wasn't. It was more like I was put against the wall. I didn't have anybody shooting for me when I was, you know, on my road of making music. So I had to get into that mode of, all right, let me do the videographer thing to get myself out there, get my content, and then people seeing that I was good and wanted to work with me. So that's where I started getting other clients and other artists all over the state to work with me, and I've been shooting ever since.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you go on his YouTube page, you see like loads of content,
Yeah.
man. You've been a busy guy.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
So, how do you balance like trying to make music while trying to make music videos and work on your own music and all this stuff? Like, how do you balance this busy life that you got? Do you have any tips for people?
Yeah, I would say go with what you're most passionate about. It's okay to have more than one idea or goal. Just take your time on one and go to the next. With that being said, I took a back burner on music because now you have to be a lot more strategic with how you put your music out and market it to your audience and things
it's
like
like
that
so many
nature.
people can do it now, man. You know,
Right.
if you go on YouTube, you're gonna see everyone making music now, man.
Exactly.
It's the same way with filmmaking, which is super great for, you know, people like us here in Iowa. I mean, it's just, you're on the Iowa Film page,
Yes, sir.
on Facebook. Obviously you don't need to live in like Hollywood or
Right.
LA to make a
Right.
movie. But you know, this is really interesting too, how we're kind of blending filmmaking and music. It's very similar. Like you said, that, like so many people's doing it. Marketing is key.
It
If
is.
people don't know you exist, nobody's going to watch your content.
Right.
And I found out recently, even though like I market the shit out of my stuff,
All right.
you know, I'm still struggling, you know, hitting those big numbers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's an art, you know, it's the way you, it seems like even like the time you share your stuff on social media
Yeah.
too plays a big factor. I was starting to get more likes, honestly, sharing my work at like 2 a.m. than I
Okay.
was at like, you know, during the evening.
Yes, sir.
So I kind of try to keep that in mind sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely algorithms and, you know, being strategic on, you know, when to drop and when to do stuff and how you do it and, you know, what type of audience you want to attract as well. And consistency, I think, is the most important thing, staying consistent.
consistency,
And that's what
definitely.
everything all the way around. Yes, sir.
So, what was your inspiration? Did you watch anyone like kind of coming up with like music and filmmaking, or did you just kind of like get a camera and you're like, I'm gonna learn how to do this?
So I learned a lot from the movies that I was brought up on. I like, you know, the Spike Lees, the Quentin Tarantino's, Francis Coppola, you know, stuff like that, the Godfathers and all of that. So as I got older, once again, you know, learning, getting more into the film, I started studying them and seeing kind of what they were doing. I even went as far as Alfred Hitchcock, you know what I mean, learning about what his techniques
greats,
were.
man, the
Yes, sir.
legends.
Yes, sir. And that kind of put me into being more inspired to do it because I already had the vision through the music and through writing. So I was just like, you know, learning about the technicality of filmmaking, you know, the stabilization in the camera and all of that, you know, making sure that it's crisp, clean scenes and executing from there, you know what I mean, pulling off what you want.
So when did you know, like, do you remember like that specific moment where like you woke up and you're like, this is the direction I want to go with my life? Because I'm sure, like, I mean, everybody has like those people. When I was going through high school and stuff, everyone, when I, you know, like even my guidance counselor was like, so which college are you going to?
Sure.
I'm like, I'm going to be an actor. And like everybody in school would laugh at me. It's like, well, you're in Iowa, you know, you have to be in Hollywood. I mean, you live in this, you know, I mean, I didn't have like a very, you know, financially wealthy family growing. My parents, you know, did the best they could. I love them
Sure.
to death, and I had a very happy childhood.
Sure.
But I wasn't rolling in dough.
Oh, yeah,
so I didn't.
I
have,
wasn't either, man,
there was
so.
really no handouts. I had to work hard to get to where I'm
Correct.
at now. But yeah, I really had no support growing up.
True. Me, I agree.
Very small handful of family and friends. But like the general public,
Mm-hmm.
like they just like laughed at me. But I just woke up one day and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do, and I haven't stopped. Did you have do you remember that moment when you woke up and you're like, this is what I'm gonna do, and obviously you've been very successful and you haven't stopped doing it. And did you have any people try to
Stopping you?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody specific tried to stop me. I think, when you're doing something and you're working your way up, you're going to get those that don't have the motivation or the drive that you do. So you may get answers that you don't want to hear, as far as if you present something to somebody and you're like, what do you think? And then they don't really give you the answer that you feel you should get, not unless you're, being arrogant. But it's like, if I put a hard work into this, I would like your opinion, and you go to people that are closest to you. So if you don't get that response, that's where you may feel
Kind of kills your vibe.
Yeah, you know how that go. And then I think you get support from those that don't know you, weirdly enough. Those that really don't know who you are, they're wanting to know who you are. So when you put that first piece of content out there, it's like, if it's good enough, they're interested. They want to know more. So I think that's where that came into play. To answer your question, sir, I don't think I had a moment where I was like, I want to be this. It was more like the music thing came to me naturally, so that's what I dove into. And then as I developed new skills, I was becoming confident with it, and I knew that if I just kept at it and stayed consistent, long, hard nights, whatever, that I was eventually going to get good. I guess the satisfaction in gaining from others is like you kind of get to that point where you don't really pay attention to that.
Right.
So,
And it's so important to have that negative criticism go in one ear and out the other. Because,
Indeed.
And it's still hard to this very day. I have a pretty good support. I have a strong following of people who like my content that I put out there. But I still get some it's not as often, but I still get people that I'll show them something or I'll tell them what I do, and they kind of just laugh and they instantly put me down and tell me I'm wasting my time.
Interesting.
And it hurts sometimes still to this
Definitely.
very day, even though
I
I have
can feel that.
all this content to show people this is what I do. It still hurts, but you just got to let it go in one ear and out the other, because those people are just trying to bring you down. And it's so easy to let it's like daggers sometimes. You just gotta you gotta put that shield up and just don't bring it down, man.
So along the way through your journey, did you ever have friends that were kind of passionate to do this as well, but you were kind of more passionate than them? And did that when you would want to do projects with them and they weren't pulling their weight, would that kind of stop your process and wanting to continue? Do you find yourself enjoying to kind of be more of a solo person, or would you prefer to work with a team?
I think that I developed going on solo is because as time you work with others, and sometimes those moments are better than others depending on who you're working with. So there were times where I ran into projects where somebody will drop all the way off the project. That would discourage me, but I still would finish the project because what we had was great. Even if I had to cut the project in half, I feel like that's better than not bringing it out at all.
For sure.
I'm very hard on myself as it is, so
that's the artist, man. I think everyone's so hard on themselves, dude.
Yeah. So having that, and then making the choice of should I bring this out or should I not? It's like I'm gonna do it and move on to the next project. I'm task oriented. I like to get it done and move on. So
what's kind of your future? What do you kind of strive to achieve? Do you think that you're gonna continue to pursue music as hard as you are, but also try to do this filmmaking thing?
I think so. I'm always going to be an artist. I'm always going to be an MC. I don't know where that may come into play with filmmaking, but when the stars align, I think it'll, go right where it needs to go as far as when I produce some content. My goal right now, I think I want to shoot a movie and a documentary. I got a documentary that I'm working on about gentrification.
And you were saying how you're not, music's always going to be your thing, and you're not sure exactly where this filmmaking path is going to really direct you. But I'm a strong believer in networking, man. And you met Michael on the Superman film, and
Crazy,
we met
right?
today. I think we all have some chemistry going on, dude.
Indeed.
I'm sure we'll find overwhelming work for you
Stay
in
tuned.
the film.
Stay tuned.
Well,
I'm with it.
definitely, man. I can tell you are such a passionate person,
Thank you,
man.
sir. Yes,
and
sir.
I love your personality, dude. So,
Appreciate
like,
you,
everyone
bro.
I talk to, man, I'm always like, you got to meet Marques, man. You got to meet Marques.
And
So,
that's the only
Thank
people
you.
allowed in our circle is super passionate people. you
Yeah,
know.
same
And I
with
think
me.
that's super important too. Is growing up, you might have these friends you have through school, but everybody's path goes the opposite direction. And then like
agree.
if you want to be like for a successful like rap artist, you can't hang out with people who don't give a shit about it, man.
right.
You got to surround yourself with people who have the same passions.
This
And
is
that's the only
true.
way you're gonna thrive in this community.
For real, and having that cohesiveness with your team is very important too. Making sure everybody's on the same page, and the energies are flowing well. Like you said, if you're with somebody that you're not really working well with, that's
It's
gonna
like-
stand in the way.
Having a dream as like a musician or an actor or filmmaker or whatever, that's never going to happen if you work in fast food every day. And it's kind of like I'm never going to sleep in a bed if I don't get out of this damn tree.
Okay, I
You know
understand.
what I mean?
Yeah,
you got to our dream is in arm's reach always, but there's there might be, as you're heading to it, there might be like a hole in the floor. You might fall right through it if
of
you're not
course.
paying attention. You got to
Right.
step right over it. It's right there, but there's going to be all these obstacles being thrown at you, and it's all purposely there because all these people we're seeing, like your favorite rap artist, your favorite actor, they're there for a reason.
Right.
It's super easy, but it's also easy to get kind of distracted by all this negative energy and that
Of
comes
course,
your way.
of course, and I would sum that up as pages in your chapter or pages in your book. Everybody has their trials and tribulations in life while they're on their road to success, and those bumps in the road, you have to translate those into, this is just another part of my story. Easier said than done, but I think that's very important. So
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
have you ever had, I guess this question could be both for you guys. Have you ever had a point in your life where you felt like you couldn't keep going, like you kind of just want to give up because you see that goal is like almost unreachable? Do you ever have that? Do you ever feel that, like, or have you ever felt that?
Yeah, I definitely have. There's just those nights where you're kind of by yourself and you may not have got the support that you've needed lately or whatever. And, you're sitting around thinking about the goals and the things you got to get done. And you may not have a team, for example. And it's like, man, how do I get all of this completed? That's where you kind of got to believe and have faith. And I also was going to add that risk is the main thing as well. And I'm still working on that as well, jumping out into that ocean and really, getting what I deserve from the universe. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So,
Well, dude, you're obviously heading down the right path. Just keep at it.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, we're here too, man. If you're having trouble waking up one morning and you're like, I don't feel like it, we're gonna, kick down your door and pull you out of bed and it's like, get your ass to work.
hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, and sometimes that's needed. Shout out to my man C Mills too. Cavion Lamar Clothing. That's one of my boys out of Kansas City, and he's one of those guys where he'll give me a call or I'll call him and we'll motivate each other because we're both entrepreneurs and we try to keep each other going and chasing those dreams and goals. So, no doubt.
Yeah, for me was I was very determined to be a successful actor in high school, and I was very intimidated by the real world when I graduated.
Okay.
So I listened to those people who made fun of me. And I'm like, what, maybe this is stupid.
Right.
So, I started working in the medical field and, finally had enough money to get my own place. Went to work every single day. And I was at this place for a good 3 to 4 years. And each year I just started slowly dying inside to the point where I ended up becoming like a severe drug user and alcoholic and tried committing suicide, man, because I just felt so empty inside. But that was also, one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because if I didn't go through this nasty episode in my life, I would not be where I'm at today.
Oh, this is true. I can agree with you there on
and
my end.
that's just
too.
like another thing, these obstacles, I went about it the wrong way, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I was supposed to do exactly what I did.
Once again, translation in the pages, you know what I mean? It's like I said, it's hard to grasp, but once you grasp it, it's like you start to be content with the things that happen from day to day, whether it's good or bad. So
Yeah, when I got out of the hospital, man, I quit my job. I asked my dad, it's like, hey, can I move back in with you until I figure out what the hell I'm going to do? And got back into acting.
Took that risk.
Yeah, I took that risk, and I'm happiest I've ever been.
And that's good, man. That's good for your brain and for your soul, man. That's most important. So,
like for me, man, it's like 2015, dude. I call it the Great Depression all the time because like I went through a spout where like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life.
Right.
I knew that I loved filmmaking, but I didn't know anyone who wanted to do it, so I thought I would never be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And like eventually I ended up finding like editing and everything. And I mean, I'll say it all the time, man, where like that really saved my life because I was just at a point where like I was just at home all day, just sleeping, man. Cause I didn't think there was ever a point in time where I was going to be able to meet people like you and Dylan to, has a dream like mine, man. So it's been really cool to like find collaboration.
Definitely.
And continue to do that.
Definitely, man. Like I said, I'm glad I met you, man. And I feel like that's a part of the story, you know what I mean, for all of us, that we run into each other the way we did, and then we continue to grow together and build and do great things, man. I
This
feel
is
great
a
on that.
beautiful way to end chapter 2019.
Definitely,
It is, man. I think I've had like the most successful year I've ever had in 2019. So I'm really looking forward to 2020.
Yes, sir. 2019 for me was more or less a learning experience in a lot of different ways, and it taught me more about myself. And I'm blessed to have that because 2020, I know what I want to do and planning things out and doing it the right way. So
talk a little bit about that, man. What do you kind of plan to do in 2020? You think you're going to focus more on music next year, or do you think you're going to try to take on that feature film? What do you think?
I think I'm going to work on the feature film. I also think I'm going to drop a couple more projects next year. Like I said, I'm always going to be in the music lane.
Right.
Here and there, you'll hear a couple projects from me, and then I'm going to intertwine that with my film production. So, definitely be on the lookout for, details on the feature film and the documentaries and everything else in between.
Dude, I'm going to pitch something to you. I think you could definitely pull off like a musical, like a rap musical.
Like a
you
Hamilton?
could play,
You think so,
Yeah,
huh?
you could play like the lead, man, and you could write all the original music, and you could just tell the super epic story.
Yeah, I
Dude,
appreciate that, man.
Blend your filmmaking dream and your music dream together, dude.
Yeah, that
And you could even turn every single song into like you make an album out of it too.
of course,
Bada bing, bada boom, big bucks right there, man.
Turning that into a soundtrack, right? Having that all into one. Hey, that sounds
Do
like
it
a good
live.
idea, right?
You do it live, have the movie playing in the background.
Yeah,
dude.
The Engler
man.
would be the great
Dude,
spot
that place
to do
is
that at.
beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Have you been inside
Oh
of it?
yeah, I've
Okay,
done some work in there. And
man.
had a couple people in there that I talk to from time to time, get a little game from. Yeah, definitely.
So have you ever toyed around the idea of playing or becoming an actor? Has that ever like piqued your interest?
That definitely has.
Because I know in the Superman film, man, like Nick kind of threw you into being an extra. You didn't know you were going to be one, right?
Not at all. That was definitely a random, hey, you want to jump in here? And I was like, let me take this as an opportunity. So I jumped in there.
I mean, I was talking to him recently, man, and he was telling me that like it looked great. Like he got the
Really?
green screen stuff in the background. Looks like you guys are at a
Oh,
restaurant.
man,
So I
that's
think it's going to be
exciting.
good,
That's
dude.
exciting, bro. I'm excited to see it, and I'm proud of that. So it's lovely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we need to think of a way all three of us can work on a project soon.
Hey.
I'm serious, dude. I'm super serious. I love your energy. I think you'd be really fun to work with.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Man,
And you
you-
fellas
you're
as
gonna
well,
work
man. That's why I said, we're definitely going to get into get to figuring that out. It's
Let
it's gonna come sooner
2020
and
be a
later.
busy year, man.
Yes,
It's gonna
sir.
be.
Indeed.
It's gonna be. You know why? You know why? We can't say yeah. You can't. We
Right,
can't say
right.
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so I guess let's talk a little bit more about the process of writing music.
Sure.
Do you make your own beats as well, or have you toyed around with that?
Yeah, so that's another part of the process is being an artist. And like I said, back against the wall, you don't really have the resources, so you invest in your own equipment, computers, things like that. So in my younger days, I definitely was working on beats, the Fruity Loops and things like that. And then as I got older, I didn't want to take all those arms on at the same time.
That's
so,
tough, man.
I went back to just going with the music, and I was going on YouTube, the typical path
Yeah.
that any artist would go on their way up, finding beats, doing those things. The unique part about that was I'm about uniqueness, so I want a beat that nobody else has heard. So one of my strategies would be in living in the Midwest, I would get stuff from the East Coast or the West Coast, knowing that the Midwest aren't really
Spice it up a little bit.
correct and don't really listen to that style of music. So when people hear my music, I put my all into it and create my own like motion picture or score, on top of the lyrics.
Yeah,
So,
because I know you said before you kind of like want your music to be more story based than just
Yes.
you rapping at a camera. You know, like
Correct.
I don't think you're really for flexing and stuff like that, right?
No
You just
doubt.
want to show people like, hey man, I can rap, I can do it good, and I want to tell a story through doing it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you get to a certain level or the level that I'm at, being rhyming for 20 years, you tend to understand that you don't have to be in front of that camera all the time to get your point across.
Right.
So I think that's where the film crosses over and works for me, because now I can put my vision on the screen and still have my words, you know, rolling along with it. And people that know me and know my music and my voice, whatever, they gonna get addicted to the music. They gonna listen to the bars and then see the visual at the same time and be like, wow, he's doing this, you know, both of these, like, it's amazing. So that's what I strive off of, you know, see
So
what I can accomplish.
what was your inspirations kind of like growing up? Like what artist, who were you listening to that kind of inspired you?
Good question. So I learned how to rap by listening to Tupac. I actually used to listen to his music and write down his lyrics word for word, and that taught me how to learn song structure. So from there, I went on to like the Jay-Z's. I was in the South, you know, the Cash Moneys. Let's see, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Twisters, you know, all of the Midwestern artists.
Tech
And then-
Nine?
Oh, definitely.
Okay,
I didn't get into Tech Nine until I was older, though. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Right.
But definitely Tech Nine is a part of me. And then as I got older and got better with lyricism, I started listening more to the East Coast rap, and that's kind of what I listen to primarily.
So
now,
do you say that, do you listen to all kinds of music, or is it
Oh.
like mostly?
Oh, definitely. I can throw 88 Rising out there. I can throw Miles Davis, you know,
Yeah,
Bitches
man.
Brew.
That's why I love Tech
whatever.
Nine, dude. He is so diverse. Like I love when he does the rap and rock stuff, man.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
did that song with a Five Finger Death Punch.
Okay,
Oh my
familiar.
gosh.
Is that a new one?
It's not new. I think it came out a couple
Yeah,
years ago.
it's a couple years
Dude,
ago.
it's a good song, man.
haven't heard that one.
Yeah. Do you know who Tech Nine is?
I love Tech Nine.
Okay,
man.
Tech Nine's like one of my favorite
Oh, yeah.
artists, man.
When he collaborates with other artists is usually my favorite.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
straight out the gate.
Yeah.
With Serge Tekian, I think's his name.
I don't know who that
The
is.
singer from System of a Down.
That's who he connected with? Did he do
Yeah.
a collaboration with them?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
Yeah,
Question I had for you was,
Yes, sir.
which song of yours is most personal to you, and kind of like share to us like the story behind that song?
That's a good question. I think I have a few songs that I like. I think one that stands out the most to me is a song that I did called Nag Champion, and it's actually from the artist Common for Water Like Chocolate. He has a song on there called Nag Champa, which the beat was done by Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla is another influence of mine, and I love that beat so much, so I got on there and put just more like a piece of kind of what I was going through at the moment in time, and then kind of like how I seen it in the future. So I think that was one of my most powerful songs, but summed up, condensed really well. You know what I mean? That's another part of lyricism. So
What's your favorite song to do live?
live.
Yeah, have you done a lot of live
Oh yeah,
performances?
definitely.
Okay, cool.
Over the years, I've done a lot of different shows throughout Iowa and stuff.
Do you plan on doing any soon?
I think 2020 I may do a little
Hit me
tour
up, man.
run. Yeah,
Let's
for
do
sure.
it, man.
Got you,
I want to.
for
I
sure.
want to be your videographer
Got
for
you.
that.
So to answer your question, I think this song called Incredible that I got, it's just a mixtape joint, but it's real hype, real energetic for the fans. I actually did that song at the Blue Moose a few years back when I opened up for Michael Rocks of the Cool Kids, and that was probably one of my best songs that I got the great response. People love my energy, and that taught me a lot about crowd presence and stuff like that.
So what's your take on kind of this new generation of rap? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Like what people call mumble rapping and stuff like that. How do you feel about that? Do you think it is kind of like insulting real lyricists, or?
No, I honestly, as growing as an artist, I've learned that there's different genres, man. Like, System of a Down would be different from AC/DC, you know what I mean? But they're still like in that rock world. It's just different categories. So mumble rap or whatever you want to call it, I don't call it that. I think, for the generation now, it's good, man. It's just showing that there's developed, growth in music and different varieties and different types of artists coming from different backgrounds. It represents artistry as a whole, so I don't knock it. But it definitely is a conversation that people
that have that. Yeah, that's
indeed,
why I wanted to ask you
indeed.
as an artist, man, because I've heard like I listen to other podcasts, and some people don't like those artists because like they rely more on like heavy beats than like actually rapping. So I know as a lyricist, I was just curious if like that kind of
Oh yeah, no doubt.
bothers you
And
at all.
and it's kind of the opposite as well. Being a lyricist that I am, you sometimes get the criticism of, oh, you're being too conscious, as they put it, a conscious rapper. I've been called that, and I'll take that, spitting about real life and telling my story. And, in today's world with the music, people don't want to hear that. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, if the beat's tight, that's what we going with. We like it. It keeps us bouncing, whatever. You don't really have to say much to get your music out there. And I respect that, but I'm different from that. So I like to tell my story and, actually write words that can, make a picture more or less. And the same for mumble rap. They do their own style of creating pictures.
Definitely.
It's just, a
It's-
little
yeah,
bit less
I mean,
work or whatever, however you want to put
It's
it.
all art, man.
Yeah,
as long as
indeed.
you're doing it and you're
Indeed.
spreading positivity, it can't be a bad thing, right?
For sure, man.
So I did something similar to you where I went on YouTube and found some free beats.
Okay.
And I have this friend, I'm going to give him a shout out, Keith Timmerman.
All right, all right.
Me and him,
I thought you were about to rap real quick, Dylan.
You gonna bust something?
I can. Nah,
okay.
I probably ain't gonna do it live. But no, but straight up, he did all the rapping and I did all like the clean vocals. We were
Okay.
gonna kind of do something like that back and forth. That's kind of popular right now.
Yeah, definitely it is.
But we have this song that's not complete, and I don't really see him too much anymore. And I'm sorry, Keith, man, but I might throw that free beat at you. We should meet up and get the song right. I have my shit right.
Yeah, we'll
And I'm
see
willing
what's
to,
up.
I'm willing to change some stuff around.
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe I'll be the next big artist in the music scene.
Yeah,
If
man.
your
you
help,
passionate,
man.
hey,
I believe
I
in
give
you,
you
bro.
some tips, no doubt, man. I believe in it. Support, man.
See, you guys are laughing, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Hey, man, I believe.
Laughing
if you
with
believe, I
confidence,
This is
believe.
like how
man.
everybody was laughing about me and Nick sparring together.
Right. Well,
I mean, I could beat him.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Nick
he's,
got that.
He's kind of a badass,
yeah,
dude.
he's got that kung fu
He's been training
thing.
for a while, man.
Yeah,
So,
I seen him work. He does some great work with that.
but I mean, hey, if you do it, videotape it. I want to see it.
All right, well, I mean, fighting
right.
him. Oh God.
and train hard.
Whatever you do, don't YouTube any fights with me, man.
Are they out there?
They're,
What?
Nope.
You never know, man.
Some street
Never
fights?
know.
I was a little cocky when I was a white belt in martial arts.
Hey, your
Try taking on
determination.
those bullies, man.
Your determination may get you the views looking at that video. Though. You never know.
I'm sure it's still up there.
So back to the music real quick.
Yes, sir.
Do you feature with a lot of people? Like, do you like to let people come on your tracks and rap with you, or do you kind of prefer to do it as a solo artist?
I enjoy working with others. I think when you do features with other people, you run into those special moments with artists, and you get a chemistry going. So you might create some great records. And then, on the flip side, being solo, I think it just helps you develop more as an artist and help you learn yourself. You know what I mean? When you do features with people, it's like you want to reach out. That's another form of networking, without it being said. So I think it's harder nowadays to work with artists because everybody's about the dollar amount. They feel like
Well,
they're
that and
worth
their own
more.
self-image, and they
You know
want,
how that go,
or they
ego.
might not do as good because it's a feature and not their own solo.
Right, and you got to be, you have to be strategic with who you work with as
Yeah.
well.
Well, yeah. Have you ever struggled with like featuring, like having someone feature on your track, and then like they weren't kind of up to par with like your standard?
Indeed. Yes,
And
sir.
how do you kind of combat that? Do you tell them like, hey, man, do you think like maybe you could try to rework some lyrics, or like how do you kind of tell them like? Or do you not tell them?
Well, honestly,
Is that offensive? I mean, I don't know.
No, not at all, man. Like I think when I'm talking to or working with an artist and we're going into the studio, they already know what I'm about
Sure.
when I go in there. I'm ready to do my thing. So
Definitely.
I hope you got your brain ready. It's another form of sparring.
Definitely.
Sparring with different artists. I kind of be funny with it now. I'm just like, I hope you ready, or I'll put a little bit of fuel into you and be like, I hope you're ready to get into the booth and work. Like, because when I get in there and spit my 16, it's gonna be something serious. And in the industry, I pay attention to that as well. Like some of the greatest artists, they work friendly competition. They don't allow each other to slip.
like,
steel
battle
sharpen
it.
steel thing. Yeah. So that's how I look at it
Okay.
for sure.
So, yeah, man, as we get kind of close to wrapping up here,
All right.
we normally ask the guests at the end of the episode kind of to give some inspiration to the fellow creators out there. What would you tell a young Marques kind of growing up to, how would you tell him to pursue his dreams?
I would tell young Marques to plan. And what I mean by plan is write down what you want to do and be realistic with the steps that it takes to get there. I think sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. We put a big goal down, and then when we don't get there, we get discouraged. And it may be just you readjusting your goal and dumbing it down, if that's the right way or phrase to use, to where you're able to reach that goal. And that'll give you that confidence to move on and do the next thing. And you'll see it come to life. You know what I mean?
Slowly
Bringing it to
but
life.
surely, man.
Yes, sir, definitely.
And yeah, I mean, I guess to add on to that would just be kind of like, if you do set a goal and it's kind of like a too early goal where you're like, all right, man, I'm going to be this guy in a year. And if you don't get there, don't give up, right?
Exactly.
You know,
Bump it up a year.
Right.
Yeah,
And
bump it
you
up,
know,
man.
it's all in the, like I said, it's all in the story, you know. You never know when that'll happen for you. It's like you can plan all day and be like, yeah, December 31st, this is going to happen. And I've had goals where I've set exact dates and they didn't come about.
Well, that's what's almost like dangerous about New Year's resolutions, you know, where like you set these and then at the end of the year, by the next year, you're like, shit, man, I didn't fucking do anything.
Right.
Man.
It's more
I
like,
gained 20 pounds. What the fuck?
yeah, it's out of nowhere that these things, you know, bloom for you. So it's like, as long as you stay consistent and put the effort into whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, no matter the time, it will take place for you. It'll happen. So, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that has been Marques Brooks, man. Thank you so much
right.
for coming
Thanks,
on the
man.
episode,
Appreciate
man.
y'all,
You got
fellas,
a big
man.
heart. You're the most motivational person
Thank
I
you,
know.
sir.
I'm very grateful I met you, and I can't wait
right.
to work with you.
Same as well.
Work with
man.
you,
man.
Appreciate y'all.
It was super cool to meet you for the first time, and I'm sure we'll be working with each other
Yes,
here
we will.
real soon.
Yes, we will.
And everybody listening to tonight's episode, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, guys.